Whether we like it or not, our lives are dominated by clothing, food, and jewelry brands. Most sociologists believe that nowadays, brands have become an object of a cult, the value of which is based on the feelings they evoke in us. That's why there is a certain hierarchy consisting of renowned and famous names. As you've already guessed from the title of this video, the world-known Bugatti automobile brand is among them, whose masterpieces have been making mouth-water of all car industry fans salivate for many years. Renowned French corporation focuses on producing sports supercars, with all models of this brand being exclusive and created only for the elite and the wealthiest people on our planet. At the same time, the company's hypercars always take a special place at motor shows and exhibitions, while the new models are on sale long before their official presentation. Curiously enough, no other company in the world has been able to repeat Bugatti's success. So I guess you're just as interested as I am to know how it all started. Well, get comfy because we're going to tell you all about that in today's video. But before we begin, make sure you've subscribed to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated with future content. Our history dates back more than a century ago in the distant 1909. That was the time when talented Italian engineer Ettore Bugatti created the eponymous company. This event was preceded by the assembly of the first Bugatti 10, a car on which its creator participated in a race and even won it. Well, we'll talk about that a little later. Ettore Arco Isidoro Bugatti, that was the full name of the sports car creator, was born in Milan in 1881 in the family of an Italian Art Nouveau jewelry designer Carlo Bugatti and Teresa Lorioli. The future designer spent his entire childhood in Milan with his older brother Rembrandt. There, he also graduated from high school and entered the Academy of Fine Arts, studying sculpture with his brother. By the way, Rembrandt, after graduation, fully devoted himself to art and, by the age of 20, was already quite a famous sculptor in Italy. In contrast, Ettore was still hesitating over his vocation until 1900, when the young man suddenly presented his own design car at one of Milan's exhibitions without saying anything, even to his family. Of course, you may ask, how was that possible? You might say that it doesn't happen that way. To be honest, not many people could answer this question clearly. The fact remains that the 19-year-old guy had the resources and desire to build his first car. There are rumors that Ettore was inspired by the first car designs, or, as they called it then, self-propelled carriages. The first time he saw such a thing on the Milan streets, all he could think of were the works of famous engineers of the time, so the rich guy built a car in one of the family garages, secretly from his parents. As biographers say, such secrecy was related to the fact that his parents didn't want such a future for their youngest son. The father was a famous jewelry craftsman, and the older brother also became a sculptor, but the youngest was attracted to crude and shapeless mechanisms. Back then, no one realized that the future belonged to automobiles, and many amateur citizens who later became famous engineers were even ridiculed. In fact, something similar happened to our hero. Of course, his first car could hardly be called perfect, but even so, Ettore succeeded in attracting many investors with his ideas, the ones that the young man desperately wanted to bring to life as quickly as possible. Among them was Count Ganelli, whose financial backing helped the young designer to start working on a new breakthrough. By the way, despite all his shortcomings, his first car received a gold medal. Thanks to the Count's financing, he created another car just in 2 years, which also was awarded at the Milan exhibition. This model gave him a reputation as a promising young designer, leading various companies to cooperate with him, including the De Dietrich Company. At the age of 23 in 1904, Ettore was already the company's technical director. The project offered the designer new perspectives. In addition to designing new cars, he also took part in real races. It's also worth noting that automobile construction only gained momentum in the early 20th century, so virtually every engineer could make a car in his garage. It often did not require much talent. It was enough to understand the basic components and know the main construction steps. As for the technical aspects of cars, Ettore deeply studied competitors and adopted their positive experience, always leaving enough space for creativity and imagination. Perhaps that's why the wealthy of that time appreciated his cars a lot. Up to 1907, Ettore Bugatti changed several jobs in the automotive industry until he finally joined the Gas Motor in Fabrik Deutz, where internal combustion engines were produced. However, no one could imagine that along with his day job, he was creating history at night in his own garage, nut by nut. He spent a whole year working on his own creation, just as his older brother worked on a sculpture, and that was how that first self-made car named after its creator, the Bugatti Type 10, appeared. This brainchild was equipped with a 4-cylinder, 1,131 cubic centimeter engine, while later on, everyone recognized the new car's chassis as one of the most effective. Even though the car design was still quite far from perfection, the main thing was that the guy, as they say, had a bright intellect. He simply lacked the financial support to finish all the things he had conceived, so only thanks to his good reputation and honestly earned image of Bugatti, he managed to find the necessary sponsorship. In 1909, when he first met with potential investors and outlined his plans for the future, the official history of the Bugatti brand began. Thanks to sponsors' investments and his own savings, a small production facility was opened in the small town of Molsheim, not far from Strasbourg. This is where the horseshoe-shaped radiator cars started to conquer the European car market. The first models were Type 13, Type 15, and Type 17. They looked exactly the same but differed only in wheelbase length, 78.7 inches, 94.5 inches, and 100 inches. The engine was the same 4, but now it was up to 1,327 cubic centimeters. These models were soon presented to the developers at the Paris exhibition and proved to be very successful. In 1913, the lineup was supplemented by such models as Type 22 and Type 23. Besides, Ettore was always passionate about racing, and in 1914, the company launched such models as Type 16 and Type 18, which differed from its predecessors with a 5-liter engine and design that now took a sportier shape. In all, about 12 cars had already been put on sale, and the first customer was a veteran aviator and Ettore's friend, Roland Garros. Yes, friends, that famous French aviator and military pilot who participated in World War I. His name would later be given to the sports complex that's been hosting the French Open tennis championships up to the present day. The last racing model, the Type 18, even participated in the Indianapolis 500 races in 1914 and 1915. In general, everything was going quite well. Still, the unexpected war made investors reconsider their business approach. No one wanted to invest money in new cars, so Ettore was forced to sell the patent to produce cars to Peugeot. After the war, the designer moved to the victorious country of France, which became his new home. It was in France where all the famous models of the company were created, but about this later. Soon it was decided to rename the old models Bugatti Type 13, Type 22, and Type 23, which were called Brescia Bugatti. Once again, returning to the production of cars, Ettore set a goal to create such a supercar, which had no analogs yet. And that is how the company spent more than 2 years in its development. In 1921, at the Paris and London Auto Show, the company presented a completely new car, Type 28, equipped with an 8-cylinder engine with a capacity of 3 liters and a power of as much as 90 horsepower. The car was produced in only 5 copies, while its successor model, the Type 29, in only 2 copies. But even despite these successful models, by far, the company's best creation of those years was the Type 32 tank, produced in 4 different modifications and created exclusively for the Grand Prix race. Even though the Bugatti concern was not the leader in the automotive market, it was stable and independent at the same time. Ettore believed that a car should have its own soul, and even if he did not sell so many of them as Ford did, he would not be ashamed of them. The cars of this brand were sold individually and in batches, and all of them were assembled by hand since there was no assembly line. Every car was like a sculpture, beautiful, high quality, reliable, and powerful. Up to 1924, Ettore's main goal of creating a supercar was still unfulfilled. It took him a very long time to create the car that would take all the first places at the races, but he was slowly moving towards that desired result. His persistence made all the difference in 1924. The Bugatti Type 35 topped the second stage of the European Grand Prix and also won 4 first-place titles. Needless to say, Ettore rejoiced. It was the Type 35 that became a Bugatti legend in the racing world, and it was even launched in the series where it was in great demand among car racers, bringing the company its first serious and huge income. Between 1924 and 1930, Bugatti sold 336 cars. The Type 35 earned Bugatti about 1,800 victories in various competitions and remained the best before the famous German Silver Arrow was released. So, Ettore Bugatti's dream came true. His cars became the best among the best. The company reached its true peak as the cars with license plates 35, 35A, 35V, 35S, and 35T became the leaders of all possible races for 5 years. At the end of the 20s, the car lineup was enriched with a newcomer, the Type 41 La Royale, created exclusively for government members, becoming one of the best luxury cars. The car's design was exquisite. The interior was made of real wood and tapestry. The car was 177 inches in size and generated 260 horsepower. The total weight of the car exceeded 6,600 pounds. Originally, it was planned to produce 25 examples, but the world saw only 6. And there's no secret that their owners were the richest millionaires. All cars had their own engine, but since most of them were unsuitable, they were installed on conventional locomotives. Just imagine these engines could be part of luxury cars and automotive history, but in fact, they drove trains. There was also a financial crisis. The company literally had to be saved from bankruptcy, so Type 44 was invented. Produced in large quantities, and its cost was affordable to most of the population. Another model was the Type 46 Petite Royale, a smaller version of the Type 41 La Royale. The 30s started with a big production of new models, among which were Type 43 and Type 50, differing from each other only by the number of horsepower and design. By the way, the Type 50B was made only for racing so that to regain its former glory. It really brought the brand some victories until the first German cars appeared on the market. In 1931, Ettore personally designed the first car equipped with an electric motor, the Type 52 Baby, created for the designer's youngest son, Roland. But the young man's close friends liked the car so much that it gained its admirers and was put into mass production. At the same time, such a model as a Type 54 with an 8-cylinder engine was launched. This model not only won prizes in races, but also set another record in speed, more than 130 miles per hour. By the way, the Russian racer Tchaikovsky drove this car. Of course, we should also mention one of the first Bugatti Type 57 cabriolets, which was also produced in several modifications. In 1939, the most powerful modification of the model was the Type 57 S45, which took the life of Jean Bugatti. After winning in Lehman, Jean drove off the track to avoid an accident with the cyclist and crashed. It is not surprising that no one was involved in cars during another war, and at the end of World War II, the company faced new problems. The world was no longer the same as before. In post-war Europe, there was not much money to buy fancy and expensive cars. The concern incurred losses but did not go bankrupt, thanks solely to its prestige and the funds it had accumulated throughout its existence. In 1947, Bugatti faced a new stroke. Its main inspirer and father, Ettore Bugatti, passed away, including the entire era. Indeed, he was the only one who kept alive the whole company. We should also mention the last car that Ettore Bugatti personally worked on, the Type 73. It was finished 2 weeks before his death. The car premiered at the Paris Auto Show in 1947. It used 2 different engines, Type 43S and Type 43A, and was the final successful breakthrough of the Bugatti concern. After the death of its founder, the Bugatti Automobile Company suffered a decline, with only 6 new cars being added to its lineup until the 1960s, failing to gain great fame. Probably, the Bugatti brand would have ceased to exist if Ettore's youngest son Roland did not take up the challenge of restoring the company. Another difficult decision was made. The Bugatti company was sold to the Hispano-Suiza Corporation, which shut down all automobile projects immediately after the deal was signed, thus putting an end to the history of the family business of the Italian-French designer Ettore Bugatti. For a long time, the concern was buried, but on the 110th anniversary of Ettore Bugatti's birth, the Bugatti EB110 was released. The car impressed everyone, as it claimed the title of the fastest car in the world. Its engine hit 553 horses. The interior was trimmed in gray leather with walnut inlays. The dashboard featured a clock, air conditioning, and a tape recorder. You could get in through the spacious arched doors, and the steering wheel looked more like an airliner steering wheel. The many hand-carved details accentuated its elegance, while the car exceeded 3,300 pounds in weight. A racing version of this model even participated in the Le Mans 24 Hours in 1994, but it never reached the podium. The Bugatti brand has been reborn twice in 1989. It was bought by an Italian entrepreneur, Romano Artioli. He gathered a team of the best Italian designers to build the fastest sports cars of that time. He succeeded, but the production of the Bugatti EB110 did not last long. In 1995, the company could not cope with the scale of the project and went bankrupt. Better times came only after the company moved under the Volkswagen Corporation's umbrella in 1998. Initially, many doubted that the suppliers of the modest Golf would be able to appreciate the Bugatti superiority and return it to its former level. But the first fruits of the company's activity were the EB118 and the EB218, a sedan that carries on the idea of the EB112. Following the presentation at several motor shows, the project halted, and Bugatti proceeded to create the ultimatum hypercar Veyron. The next model was the EB183 Chiron and EB184 Veyron. The former was designed by Untold Design, while the latter was entirely created in Wolfsburg under Hartmut Warkus. This project was further developed into the mass-produced Veyron. In 2005, the Bugatti Veyron went on sale for $1.7 million after its debut at the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. The supercar was worth the money. It used the most advanced technological advances and reached a top speed of 267.8 miles per hour, with acceleration to 60 miles per hour in just 2.46 seconds. In 2008, based on the Veyron, a version of the Grand Sport was created, the fastest production roadster of all time. Only 150 of these cars were sold at an insane price of $2.1 million each. Veyron did not give up its position until 2016. It was replaced by the ultimatum hypercar of the new generation, Bugatti Chiron. Presented at the Geneva Motor Show 2016, this model became the fastest, 261 miles per hour powerful, 1,500 horsepower, and expensive, $2.5 million serial car in the market. The model was equipped with a reworked 8-liter W16 engine with 4 two-stage turbochargers, a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, and an all-wheel drive system. And what about the logo? The Bugatti logo is a tricolor oval-shaped figure, 60 red dots, symbolizing the safety cables embedded in a narrow white frame. The word Bugatti carved in white letters with black shadows lies on the red background in the center of the logo. And the logo is complemented by a stylish trademark EB above the name, the initials of the great Ettore Bugatti. It is believed that the company logo was invented by Ettore's father, who, in his turn, was an excellent jeweler and artist. There were no gaskets in Bugatti cars, so the protective cables looked like lace patterns. This explains the appearance of red dots on the Bugatti logo. Others believe that the dots are pearls, symbolizing that Ettore Bugatti considered his cars beautiful jewels. The main color of the Bugatti logo is red, which naturally demonstrates extreme power, passion, and driving pleasure. White symbolizes elegance and nobility, and black shades represent perfection and courage. Today, we associate the Bugatti brand only with wealth and luxury, and it is true, every car is truly luxurious and deserves all the compliments. Here are some interesting facts about Bugatti Veyron cars. For example, the brakes are made by the same company that makes brakes for Airbus, and Bugatti has its own wing, which is automatically controlled by a speed sensor. It helps Bugatti to stay on the ground because the car goes faster than the plane during takeoff. It was developed together with aerospace designers because we have to deal with truly cosmic speeds. As for the engine, its real power is 3,000 horsepower, and 2/3 of this energy goes into heat. The first engine test almost burned down the whole building because it generated enough heat to heat 100 houses in winter. While testing the first Bugatti Veyron at 186 miles per hour, the exhaust pipe burst into flames 2 meters long. The engineers even thought of keeping this feature. However, this was illegal, so we had to develop a unique cooling system. Just imagine this monster reaching 60 miles per hour in only 2.5 seconds and 186 miles per hour in 17 seconds. All that, and it takes only 150 milliseconds to change gears without a drop in power, faster than a human can blink an eye. The gear shift controller alone is more powerful than 4 computers, but even having accelerated to 252 miles per hour, the Bugatti needs only 10 seconds to stop the car to zero. In general, no one has ever produced anything like that before, and most likely they never will. We had to develop new tires for Bugatti because nobody has ever produced tires capable of speeds over 250 miles per hour. In fact, this car can outrun an airplane. For such speeds, the volume of the car's gas tank is as much as 22 gallons because Bugatti likes to eat a lot. Fuel consumption in the city is 5.61 miles per gallon. And for those who did not know, it was worth noting that absolutely everything in a Bugatti is assembled by hand, so to say, with love and care. Only a few people know how difficult it is to preserve something that's been built over the years, and not everyone understands what they have to do not to lose the level to which they have been heading for many years. The company's history has seen both ups and downs for decades, but despite this, Bugatti has survived and continues its history even despite the absence of its main creator, Ettore Bugatti. Even if only a few people can afford this car, it is thanks to it a simple self-taught enthusiast has forever written his name in history. How do you personally feel about this car brand? And have you ever seen a Bugatti in person? If yes, where? At this point, we get to the end of our video. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and give this video a big thumbs up.